Back in 2020, a new nonprofit was formed in Sumner County to oversee 3 important landmarks. Historic Castalian Springs' mission is to preserve and perpetuate 3 unique home museums. Now, we're going there now to discover how each offers its own special glimpse into the past.
When we look at Cragfont, it is the kind of very pinnacle of wealth in this area. When we look at Wynwood, this is both a family home and a business, so it's kind of different. And then Hawthorne is very much a middle-class home, so what many people could have aspired to.
3 unique sites, 3 compelling stories, 1 historic community, now called Historic Castalian Springs. Tanya Staggs serves as executive director.
There's a link there with the family, but also all of these sites are very important to this community and the founding of this community.
The oldest of the historic home trio is Cragfont, completed in 1802 by owners James and Susan Winchester. Certainly one of the finest homes in Tennessee until the frontier moved further west. Much of the furniture was crafted in Baltimore by a nephew of Winchester's. He likely learned his craft from British artisans up east. It's a reminder that fine furnishings were obtainable even in the wild frontier for a price. Wynwood, completed in 1830, was once the largest log structure in the state of Tennessee. It was built by Alfred Wynn, who was a merchant, a local tobacco farmer, slave trader, and father of 14 kids. Oh, and along with his wife, an innkeeper. Elmira Wynn was the daughter of Cragfont owner James Winchester. The couple's resort inn was on a major thoroughfare coming into what was then the western frontier. It was also built to attract visitors to the so-called curative Sulphur Springs. This historic spring house is a lasting reminder of a time when people came from several states to seek the cure. Katie Latham not only conducts tours here, she conducts ongoing research into this piece of architectural history.
It's open as a resort 2 separate times entirely. This first era is summer 1830 till about the start of the Civil War, and that focus is really on the medicinal benefits of the sulfur water, those healing properties that it was thought to have.
You have to wonder, how did the Wynns manage to raise 14 kids here and still entertain a steady flow of inn-guests?
That's one of the things we're still figuring out about the building, is how they managed to operate as both a family home and a business at the same time. And it seems to change. We have evidence throughout the building of literal walls being moved and layouts changing. So we have some rooms that we currently have set up as family, some as guests, and we try to just reflect both of those to the best that we can and with what we know.
The resort business was paused after the outbreak of the Civil War, and it didn't restart again until 1899, when the remaining Wynn daughters leased it to an outside manager. 20 summer cottages were built on a hill behind the inn, with one still remaining. There was even a dance pavilion and bowling alley. Then in 1914, the Wynns closed the inn and focused on farming. The state of Tennessee bought it in 1970.
We have some pieces in here that are original to this house specifically. A lot of the books here behind me are original to Wynwood. The parlor table right here and the mirror and the fire back are original to both Cragfont as well as Wynwood. Elmira Winchester Wynn actually inherits those and brings them here. And then some pieces are just period and not original to this house.
Katie says visitors' reactions vary. However, surprise is a word often heard.
It's not what they're expecting when you pull up and see a giant log building. And so it's really amazing to see people kind of learn and put these pieces together. We talk about resort, we talk about slavery, we talk about the family. Like, it's just such a complicated building, and we just always hope that people come away from this learning something about that.
By the way, a ferocious tornado tore through Wynwood in 2008, leaving behind structural damage and old fallen trees. Fortunately, after a lot of work and expense, the grounds and buildings are now intact. Down the road sits the third historic home of the trio, Hawthorne Hill. It's a brick federal house, distinctive in more ways than one.
It's preserved but not restored. So it's not going to fall in, it's taken care of, but when you go inside you're really seeing the original finishes. It's almost like going into an abandoned home that's sort of frozen in time. We don't have it furnished, so it's very different than your traditional historic house museum experience.
Here's an interesting fact. Its original owner, Dr. Humphrey Bate, was leader of the Possum Hunters, who starred on the Grand Ole Opry.
He was born there, supposedly taught to play harmonica by a formerly enslaved man.
While Hawthorne is only open to visitors one Saturday a month, guided tours of Craigfont and Wynwood are available from Thursday through Sunday. If you go, you'll be transported into the lives of the Winchesters, the Wynns, and others who shared a fascinating history here, creating stories that are still being uncovered.
We're finding all kinds of things about the sites, and so uncovering that history and being able to share it with the public is really the most exciting thing.